Well, welcome. This is Planet Holistic, and I am your guest host, Donna Kiel. I'm also an educator, a leadership coach, a life coach, and an incredibly grateful author with As You Wish Publishing. And joining me today is someone I just so deeply admire and love, and the reason that I have chosen As You Wish Publishing as my publisher. A woman who I consider to be a brilliant change maker in our world, who is also an author with As You Wish. And this is the incredible Felicia Shaviri joining me today. Hi, Felicia.
Hello, Donna. How are you?
I'm just great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
And I have the incredible, wonderful opportunity to actually also work with Felicia with a young women's empowerment program that we're co-creating together that's been so enlivening. And we actually just came from a session. So some of that content may bleed over into this session. But what we want to talk about today is creating the next best version of your life. And I want Felicia just to give you a brief synopsis of her background, and because I think as I look at someone who models recreating ourselves, it's definitely Felicia. So Felicia, can you give us a little bit of background on what's your life been like and what led you to write the book that you wrote, which it's an incredible book that we should all read called The Nudge. And how you got to that process.
Okay. Well, thank you again for having me on your show. And, I think I'm going to start, I have to go way back to Chicago. I graduated from one of the Chicago public high schools. Mm-hmm. From there, I found myself traveling south to Alabama, where I went to college. Mm-hmm. And eventually I made my way to Seattle, where I lived for nearly 3 decades. Mm. And while in Seattle, I worked for the Sheriff's Department, one of the Sheriff's Departments in the Pacific Northwest. And in 2014, after returning, I returned home to Chicago for the services of my second best friend, or childhood buddy, who had transitioned, and something began to happen. There was a coincidence, and then another coincidence, and another, and they continued to show up. At one point, I thought that there was something wrong with me. I thought maybe I'm going through the change, maybe my hormones are off balance. Who do I talk to? But, you're afraid to talk to someone because I was afraid to talk to someone because there was a fear of having to take medication or wearing a jacket and having people see me a certain way. And I'd always been a fairly strong, independent, private, very private. And but when this happened, I finally got to a point where I decided, I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just going to do my best to stay open and to receive whatever is coming into me here, because there are messages. And I kept them to myself for some time, but they began to make sense. And I really started to get it. And then I began to write notes. I journal off and on. I have since I was probably 12 years old. Mm-hmm. And there are times where, the journal goes empty for a year, 2 years, and then I pick it up and I can continue on from that point. But there's an artist by the name of Damien Escobar, whose music, I saw a clip of him on Facebook. And in seeing him on Facebook, this music triggered something in me to write. And I mean, I could sit with the headphones and just go with the typing and writing. It just continued to flow. Wow. And so that's where, over a period of time in doing that, the book I never set out to write a book, but It just happened. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, tell
Mhm.
us just a little bit about kind of a synopsis of the book.
The book is a journey from, synopsis of the book. I'll tell you, it is learning to pay attention to those feelings that we all have, the signs, clues, messages that will lead us in the direction of what I believe is the reason that we're here. And you know what's really funny, Donna, is I never thought about why I was really here. I just knew I was here on Earth. You know, I had a great job, great benefits, great pay. But in the book, and as I start to write about this journey that I was on, it was all making sense that I was going in the right direction. And I found myself doing things, meeting people, and going places that didn't make sense to anyone else, especially my husband and my children. But I knew I had to go that way. I just knew I had to follow this, and each time that I would follow that, there was always a moment of saying yes, because I could have said, no, I'm not going to do that because I have a family, I have a husband, and I need to do what is expected, so that I don't cause any more waste, but I just couldn't do that. And I don't believe I could do it. Go for it.
What I find really compelling, and this is the story that we gave these young middle school girls today, is listening to that own inner voice that takes you on a path. And what I think I hear you saying about your book, and tell me where I'm wrong, is that the book really emerged out of you as a listening to your own calling, that you just really connected deeply inside your own kind of spirit and just followed all those clues. Yes?
Absolutely. You're right on the head. Right on the head. Because,
what I think, as an author myself, I think what's hard for us is we often want to write for someone. We think about the audience, and we think about how people might perceive what we've written, and we think about what it might look like. And one of the many reasons I admire you so much is you both can fit in and be kind to whomever is surrounding you, as you were today, but also be very steadfast and follow your own heart. It's like you're able to create your life, but also not disregard those lives around you, like your husbands or your daughters. How do you think you do that? I've seen it in action, but for those of us who both want to be true to our own calling, and I'm speaking about myself, you have an urge yourself, but then you've got people around you who say, no, go this way. You don't want to alienate them and say, get out of my way. But you seem to be able to do both. How do you do that?
I think, oh boy, how do I do that? I will tell you what is coming up for me now, because I've never really sat and even asked myself that question. So that's a really great question. I think what I've done is I've worked on me, and I have a lot of conversations with myself when I'm thinking a thought about something, like we were discussing with the girls today, the judgment, right? And when I'm thinking a certain way, if I have something that's running through my head, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Is it true? Or am I judging this? And it's like, no, just hear them and then come back with an open heart. I try to keep my heart really open. I really try. And I don't even have to try hard anymore, because it's like, it's just, it's almost like second nature, I guess, now. Where when I look at myself even 3-4 years ago, I was very closed. I was very, I'm not going to even get involved with that because I don't want to let anybody in. But I think as we do the work on ourselves, we begin to see everyone in a place of love. And that's why there are times where I've had I've had others ask, well, how are you able to love everybody? Right? I mean, how can you do that? When if someone comes to you and they bring this negative vibe or energy, or you're just not feeling them, how do you do that? And, I have responded in turn with, I still see them as love. Even if you speak to someone and they don't speak to you, you still wish them well. And even though they may not respond, trust me, they're thinking about that. It may be outside of your presence, but they do remember that. Yeah. And, I'll just speak and you let it go. You don't have to have an answer to it, So I think I do it by simply being heart-centered. I have to say that, and I think it just flows. That's a good question. I'll have to sit and really think about that now. That's great.
Well, good. I'm glad I gave you something to ponder. I think, and I know a bit about your life story where, you went away to college and then, had that wonderful job, and then you walked away from that job and are in that process now of recreating your life. And I wonder if you would have a message to those of us also out there who are perhaps considering recreating our lives. And I think it's just life is always a process of recreation. I hope that we're never just stagnant. But is there some advice that you would give, even like when you think of the young girls today or any aspiring author, as to the fear that gets in the way when you're on the verge of recreating the next best version of yourself? What advice would you give someone?
Listen to that voice within. That's where you would start. And that's beautiful, because I can't tell you right now the number of individuals that I have helped, because I don't even try to keep count anymore, who have also walked away from their careers since I have left. And, their careers, when you think about the level or what they were doing, corporate careers, I'm talking major corporate careers. And I'm like, yes. But when you look at them, they have this glow. They have a glow about them. They're smiling again. And I would tell you, listen within and ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen? Are you there for the benefits? Are you there for a vacation? And for me, I had been in my career for over 20 and a half years or so. And the realization came that I'm getting paid to work 5 days. They give me a temporary release on Saturday and Sunday with the promise to return on Monday. And it was for what?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm really good, if I'm really a good employee and I do really great and I, abide by the rules and regulations, they give me a week off with the return. 2 weeks. The longer I'm there, they trust me more and I have more time, that I can go away, but we want you to come back. So it's not that and even in my career, it's not that I didn't enjoy what I did. I am so, so grateful for the opportunity to have worked where I worked. Because I've learned so much. I worked with people from all walks of life. There were corporate folks that came in and crossed my path, and now I have the opportunity to be able to work with individuals, males, females, all ages, to try and turn that around. And I don't even have to try hard, right? Because there were so many lessons that I was being given while I was in that place that now I can share with other people. And I had a conversation recently, and I'll try and keep it short. I had a conversation recently with one of my sisters who used to be she's a former teacher for Chicago Public Schools. And I said to her, Deb, I got a question. What do we do with the kids that continue to be sent to the principal's office? What do we do with the kids that continue to go to detention?